Ancient Wars Medieval Crusades is a historically inspired RTS which lets you design, name and equip your own units during a match as you research more advanced weapons or shields and unlock new types of soldiers. This is one of those extra features many of you asked from developers of real-time strategy games to spice up their gameplay with and provide something different compared to all the previous games which they take inspiration from. And so I am happy to showcase Ancient Wars Medieval Crusades to you today, thanks to the indie developers at Jotasoft Studios who have previously released a similar game but in a different historical setting, called Ancient Wars Sparta Definitive Edition.
One arrow, one body.
The civilizations currently available to play with in Skirmish of this early build of the game are Arabians, Byzantines, Crusaders, Mongols and Russians, while only the Crusaders campaign can be tried out. The developers aim to make these civilizations as asymmetric as possible despite sharing the same time period, and this is where the mentioned unit customization system along with historical leaders acting as heroes helps greatly.
Our arrows are faster than the wind.
These heroes can even level up and start using active or passive abilities like powerful strikes or converting enemy units into their own. You can leave these types of abilities on autocast or disable it and use them manually. The whole gameplay is filled with all sorts of stuff that is on autocast by default, like repair on workers, upgrading on units, or collection of arms from dead enemies. Passives of all kinds are also available as hero skills, from those that increase units' fire rate and armor to speed and health. Regular units can also gain levels as they fight and survive long enough to earn enough XP points. You can see this visually because leveled units gain Veterancy marks next to their HP bar. There is also the system of seniority, by which regular units will automatically upgrade from light to medium units once they are experienced enough. These RPG elements in Ancient Wars Medieval Crusades make it more focused on smaller scale tactical combat, while you have to keep expanding and upgrading your economy through buildings to keep up with your opponent and continue sending out new units from the recruitment buildings like barracks and stables. You can tell me in the comments what you think of this kind of gameplay and is the scale satisfying to you.
At your command.
The developers have made sure to add some cinematics with appropriate music for the campaign experience, but I am sure you will be commenting down below that you have seen such level of animation and graphics 15 years ago. I do get that, and myself don't like the super strong bloom effect on everything, but please don't be a graphic whore like me and try to focus on gameplay. Also, if you saw enough and want to check out other new RTS games I have showcased, here is a link to the playlist full of them up here and down in the description. When you start your first campaign, the game teaches you the basics of combat and then about the economy and base building.
Loyalty to the free people.
The combat itself has some interesting elements, like units with shields passively deflecting arrows and fighting on despite several arrows sticking out from their armor. A historical fact translated into gameplay, and if you don't believe me, there is a fantastic historian and medieval armor professional called Tobias Capwell who you can learn this from. Despite starting with the Crusader faction, you capture an enemy HQ building called a palace, and there you can hire workers of another faction. These collect resources like wood by cutting down trees, construct other buildings like mines, forges, farms and unit recruitment buildings, as well as collect weapons from fallen soldiers. But I will talk more about that element later in the video. One thing I want to mention now are the types of traps you can construct with the workers, like stone traps, stake traps and bow traps. Each one has a different cost and a unique attack type and animation. Other resources besides wood are gold, for example, which is mined from specific places that are usually only spawned next to your HQ, and a few other places around the map. Then you have metal, which is similarly rare but provided next to your starting location as well. These mines don't need workers to operate once built, but have their own workforce of people, horses, camels and such, which can be upgraded to increase the speed at which they deliver gold to your HQ or storehouse. The upgrades are not available in the first mission of the Crusaders campaign, but are in the Skirmish mode. These allow for upgrades to wood cutting speed, food production speed, which is directly sold for gold, and many other economy-based upgrades spread across multiple buildings.
These arrows will bring death, Your Highness.
An interesting element of gameplay are capturable settlements, which you can take over once your unit spends enough time next to their flags and provide you with an increase to your maximum unit count. Buildings like the sheepfold or farm offer similar increases to the population limit. Most of these buildings or resource collection processes are very nicely animated, with workers in production buildings doing multiple tasks at their workplace inside or outside their designated building, with soldiers actually practicing their skills and with their weapons inside the unit recruitment buildings before coming out to be part of your army.
My life is hard.
And it is at these recruitment buildings that you can pick open slots and in them design your own units. You can write your own name for the unit, manually pick the weapons that the unit will use, and see all the relevant stats, like how much it will cost to train, how much damage it will do, what is its armor and HP. You can edit these later to use improved arms and armor, or change the base soldier type to produce a higher quality unit. Different weapons offer different bonuses versus specific enemy unit types, and this is where you can learn such info to use it in battle. I hope this is one of those elements that brings something new and special to an RTS that you have been asking for in the comments of past videos. So let me know in this one, does it work for you or not?
Give me the strength to reach the ocean!
When the hero has accumulated enough experience points, you have to manually level him up using the UI element at the bottom right and choose to enable one of his skills. For a bow hero like Godfrey, the King of Jerusalem, these skills allow for more accurate hits on shielded enemies or more attack speed of nearby enemy range units. These effects become easily noticeable as a glowing aura around units which are being affected by the hero's buff. But because of the strong bloom graphical effect, I personally dislike this choice by the developers. Something more tasteful needs to be used, and this effect redesigned, especially because of the game's setting, which is historical, not fantasy. On the other hand, there are the Russian priests, which heal units up like there is no tomorrow or an endless mana supply, so some fantasy is allowed, it seems.
I've killed 40 of the finest batters.
Once you get close enough to an enemy's base and can attack his buildings, you can do so with your units, as they will go into their pillage mode and throw burning torches onto these buildings. This isn't very effective, and for proper destruction of enemy buildings, you need siege equipment like catapults or trebuchets, which are actually built by the workers and not trained in any building. It is the same with a few ships this game has to offer. Beyond traps for defenses, you can build walls and gates if you are not playing the Mongols, because they like these. You can check out all the specifics of the other factions if you play in the Skirmish mode, which will have a host of maps where you can play in both team and free-for-all game modes. The maximum number of players per map is currently 8, with 2 extra gameplay rules you can turn on or off.
No one will stay alive!
Units in Ancient Wars Medieval Crusades can also be moved in several formations, be that a line, abreast or scatter formation. These are changed by a single click using the UI interface on the bottom right. As for the mentioned use of workers to pick up weapons from dead soldiers, this can be done by all factions in the game. It is also automated as long as you keep this ability on autocast, and once your workers have packed their bags to the maximum capacity, they carry these arms back to your base. This can help you unlock new weapon types without actually paying for the research itself. Spies are going to be units which will do this function as well. This kind of info I found in the game's Discord, which I have linked in the description of the video down below, and suggest you join it to follow the game's development and post your own thoughts and ideas. One more element you might not have expected to see in this game is the importance of wind. There is a UI element at the top of the screen which tells you the direction of the wind, which actually influences speed of ships, range of projectiles, and spread of fire. There are more mini gameplay elements like this that you can find across the game, like for example how units can be killed and thrown off their horse, while the horse itself remains on the battlefield and can be saddled by any of your units. As I explained already, this is an early build of this game. Developers are hard at work adding updates all the time, and they have grand plans including multiplayer. They want to finish 3 historical campaigns, add 4 additional game modes such as Conquest, Domination, Imperial and Survival, besides the Skirmish I have already shown you. Some of these are playable even in co-op. Developers also want to have working weather that affects the gameplay, realistic naval combat, 8K support, reactive AI and a ton of other features. I hope you will at least wishlist this one, and you can check out more such games in my videos shown here as cards. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!